Greetings, rise and shine, brethren. We are the World Global Reset Restoration Network family, comprised of 198 sovereign nations with over 7 billion sovereign principles, being of one mind, one heart, and one spirit, walking together under the divine principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. I come to you as a voice in the wilderness to introduce to you a man. No, not just any man, but a man sent by Yah Allah to redeem mankind. Dr. Hindu I.L. Henderson, the Adak Chief Justice of the Universal World Court, and who's also known as Yehoshua Mashiach, the Son of Man. The information that you will be receiving in this and other videos you won't get from anywhere else on the planet. Hear the many truths and fulfillment of the laws, judgments, and sentencings from our Creator, Father Yah, as well as the fulfillment of the true interpretation of the Holy Scriptures and books. Now, without further ado, Dr. Hindu I.L. Henderson with his beloved host, Shelley Bowling.
And I went and I dug out a bit of information. And I'm going to send this to them. I need them to read this. Because it talks about the Internal Revenue Service. And it says, then in 1954, Senator Lyndon Baines Johnson, a Democrat of Texas, sponsored legislation, which bought churches under the new 501c3 section of the International Revenue Code. In 1954, Lyndon Baines Johnson, Democrat of Texas, bought all of the churches under the new 501c3 of the Internal Revenue Code. And at that time, it was requested and most of the time mandatory that pastors must be ordained by the IRS. This was in 1954. I got it. Yeah.
Ordained by the IRS.
Ordained by the IRS. In other words, if you haven't been ordained by the IRS, you're not a pastor, from what it says. I'm going to send this to a lot of the ministers. They're going to love to see this.
Oh, boy.
And they go on to say, they actually put it in here based upon what they believe it is. It says, he hates, and they put down Revelations 2:6, 2:15. It is the setting of a privileged class of clergy with benefits from the state that lay members do not receive. Others who minister to the church in the area of music, youth, children, education, and other areas of responsibility don't qualify.
So they were bought and paid for.
Yes. By the 501c3. See, this is a question that a lot of ministers have been calling me because they want to know how they get themselves from up under that. And I have one in particular, I think it was in Texas. I'm going to make sure I get him a copy of this because he wanted part of the stuff that I've written. I'm going to get saying some stuff that was written in 1954 also. They said, this great Christian republic that we live and was founded, they said, formed 225 years ago in 1776 by God-fearing men who put all, including their homes, families, and lives on the line. What we seldom hear today, and what has been conveniently, or should I say deliberately, left out of the history books, is that much of the imperatives for achieving our independence and freedom was the result of the preaching and teaching of the clergy of that time. They were fired up with the Word of God and spoke out on anything and everything that was in conflict with that Word. What a contrast to today, when the preachers are silent, when the churches have been packed with the devil, the state, when they have played the role of Judas and sold out our God for 30 pieces of silver. Prior to 1954, there was no such thing as a 501c3 church. All donations, contributions, gifts, etc., given to churches were automatically tax deductible under the old English common law, known as the law of charities. And in 1954, Senator Lyndon B. Johnson, Democrat of Texas, sponsored legislation which bought churches under the new 501c3 section of the Internal Revenue Code. And I'm going to be sending all of this stuff to them so they can read it, Shelley. So they understand why it was so important for me to come up with the 501c4, the new 504 trust, and do away with the 501c3.
Right.
But they would have been under that based upon the Pope alone. But then in 1954, that was again during Roosevelt's time. Those guys. Lyndon B. Johnson at the time was a Democrat. He was not president. He was a senator in 1954. That was along with Kennedy and all the other people. And at that time, he bought all of the ministers in America, or the United States, as we might call them that. He bought them and put them under the 501c3. And that's why now they're having to give up their messages, because they're under the 501c3. But let me help them out. You're not under the 501c3 anymore. You're under the 501c4 that has been established based upon the Melchizedek Trust. So again, let me help you out. You do not have to turn your messages in if you fall under the 501c4. And the way you fall under the 501c4 is by putting your name on the redemption list. Redeem yourself, because you were sold out. Redeem yourself. You don't have to worry about that. You don't redeem yourself, you'll be punished with them. That's why the Vatican is shut down, because it was not in the 501c3. Any organization that's out there now, I don't care if you're a private corporation, I don't care if you're a humanitarian project, I don't care what you are, religious or unreligious, biblical or unbiblical. If you're under the 501c3, you are shut down. You are. And for all the money that you're receiving now, it is known as debt. You owe that. And trust me, Your own friends are going to try to collect off you shortly. But they have no choice. They're going to try to rob Peter to pay Paul. They're going to realize that Peter and Paul does not run this. This is ran by the 504. They'll find out that Melchizedek runs it. And they're going to find out that the head of Melchizedek is the great high priest himself, Yah, God Almighty.
Wanted to say thank you for answering my call. I just have a question. I know Dr. Henderson was talking about the ministers coming in underneath the new 501c4. Now, what if you know that? What if they don't want to come under this 501c4? And will they be allowed to operate as they are operating and teaching fictitious things to the people and still getting their tithes and, all that other stuff that they're doing right now to control the minds of the people that are in the religions?
Let me help you with what's going to happen to them.
Yes, sir.
4th chapter of Malachi. For behold, the day is coming, burning like an oven. And all the proud, yes, all who do wickedly will be stubbled. And the day which is coming shall burn them up, says Yah. That will leave them neither root nor branch. But to you who fear my name, the Son of Righteousness shall arise, with healing in his wings. And you shall go out and grow fat like stall-fed calves. You shall trample the wicked, for they shall be ashes under the soles of your feet. On the day that I do this, says Yah, remember the law of Moses, my servant, who I have commanded him in Horeb, for all Israel, with the statutes and judgments. Behold, I will send you Elijah, the prophet, before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord. And he will turn the hearts of the fathers to the children, and the hearts of the children to the fathers, lest I come and strike the earth with a curse. But I am saying to you, 4th chapter of Malachi, any minister that's out there that do not fall under the 501c4, that refuses to start preaching the truth of God, refuses to preach the true God's name, and get away from all of that old-fashioned stuff that they have been teaching and taught, he will be burned up in the pit of fire. Did I answer your question, my beloved?
Oh, yes. Yes, Steve.
What church you go to, that's on you. I can tell you that churches will be shut down pretty shortly anyway, because all of them are under the 501c3 or the 503, which belongs to Vatican City, which when Vatican City shuts down, the 503 dies too. And it's already dead. So if you're in a church anyway, and I say to my brothers, excuse me, but I still love you, but your church don't really exist. And you too can be brought up on charges. And some of them are being brought up on charges now because they're saying they're collecting money for an institution that don't exist anymore. That's why IRS is trying to get quiet now, because they're still collecting money. And they're collecting money for an institution that don't exist and never existed. And they're going to have to give an account for it. Federal Reserve. That's why they're on TV screaming. They got Janet Yellen, she's beginning to tell it on Alan Greenspan, he's beginning to tell it on Bernanke, and everybody's beginning to point at each other because now they're trying to figure out who was the first person to start collecting money, knowing that it was not really an institution. But they were told it in the Master C question. Half of them didn't even know about it, they said, until they read the Master C question. Well, I didn't know. I read the Master C question, then I realized that 2560 said that we had to be cut, cap, and balance, and then it told us that we had to be transparent, and we signed off on it, said yes, we were going to do that, and then we realized that it was part of the Master C question's plan to do that, so we had to tell how much money we were spending, how much money we were gathering, who was getting it, and where it was going. And when we found out it was going to personal people to live while everybody else suffer, now we got to give an account for it. So now everybody's pointing at everybody. And they said, when did we start doing this? 1933, 1932, 1929. When did we start doing this? No, you have been doing it since 1700. That's how long you've been doing it. Now again, we are on a planned mission from YHWH. This mission has already been completed, and it shall be completed and confirmed, and it will be lived out either with you here or with you there. And you need to understand when I say there, I'm not talking about you being in New York while we've been in Texas. That's not going to happen. You won't be there on that area, in that particular area, period. So sit down and listen. Now for RS. My dear, they have been already informed. All the nations have been informed because all the nations were under them. IRS is nothing more than an entity that has plagued this world universal-wide. Universal-wide. It is the one that has ran all of your leaders, whether they were popes, whether they considered themselves to be queens or cardinals, or whatever they were possessing to be. This IRS entity was their ruler, known as internal revenue. They were the ones that was doing everything. And you have to understand the word internal and then revenue. Revenue is those things that they're calling monetary funds. They are a group that was their entirety was to be internally of these funds. In other words, they're inside the funds, so therefore they were regulating the funds. And at the same time, they were getting the funds from the people which they were already in, and again, regulating the funds again. If you had read the Holy Book, the Holy Bible, you would have seen it incorporated in the book, and now you wouldn't be so quick to say, why are they doing it? They were able to set it up that way based upon the Holy Book. They gave you the Holy Book. You accepted the Holy Books through accepting the Roman Catholic Church, no matter who you were. 501c3. You accepted the Roman Catholic Church. Once you took a Social Security number, which everyone should have realized that this is also what Hitler was pinning and pressing and carving on some of the people's bodies. It was that number. So you will become a number system under the 501c3, known as also IRS. So you're not the only one under it, my brothers and sisters in America. You need to understand that every man that's on this planet is under that same system.
This is talking about Babylon, the system. And for those of you that may not know who Babylon truly is, it really is that old system of the Crown and the Vatican and the U.S. Corp, which has been shut down. Brother Robert, it has been shut down as of last July. So, keeping that in mind, let me read you a little bit of Revelation 18. It says, after these things, I saw another angel coming down from heaven, having great authority, and the earth was illuminated with his glory, and he cried mightily with a loud voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen and has become a dwelling place of demons, a prison for every foul spirit, and a cage for every unclean and hated bird. So we understand how deep the evil goes in the Babylonian system, in the Vatican and the Crown of England. If you've been paying attention to what Doctor has been saying over the last few years on these conference calls, you'll know that their deep ability to be evil really doesn't have any boundaries. So it says, for all the nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. The kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth have become rich through the abundance of her luxury. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people, lest you share in her sins, and lest you receive of her plagues. For her sins have reached to heaven, and God has remembered her iniquities. Render to her just as she has rendered to you, and repay her double according to her works, in the cup which she has mixed double for her. Now, Doctor was talking about memberships earlier underneath this Babylonian system, underneath the Vatican, underneath the Crown of England. Every corporation, every church, every temple, all of those come underneath, that have come under the 501c3, has submitted themselves to that, and to the demonic or demons running that. And Father is saying, those of you that are innocent, that innocently entered these membership of these entities, whether they're churches or, and it doesn't matter what denomination it is. It doesn't matter whether it's a temple. It doesn't matter what the religion is. They have all fallen under the 501c3 if they have filled out that paperwork. And that is a global piece of paper. It's not just in one area. So he is saying, come out of her, my people, those of you that are righteous, because they've been lying to you. The book is the truth. But what your ministers and pastors and such, they have kept back from you the truth. They've changed his name. They've not told you the power of the name of Yah. These are the things that you've got to come out of, because he does not want you to share in the sins and receive the plagues that are coming down upon these areas that have been lying to you.